Hi, I'm Anne Yarymowich. I'm the Executive Chef at the Art Gallery of Ontario. We're here in the Frank Kitchen and we're preparing Buttermilk Bacon Biscuits for our Winterlicious venue that gets served alongside a fabulous Nova Scotia clam chowder. So without further ado, here we go. I have in front of me some all-purpose flour, that's 4 cups. I have a little bit of sugar, that's 2 tablespoons. A bit of baking powder, that's 4 tablespoons. A little bit of baking soda, that's 2 tablespoons, and some kosher salt, that's 2 tablespoons. What I like to do is incorporate all these ingredients well so that they're well mixed together. I use a whisk for that purpose, and it just incorporates all the soda and the baking powder and the salt and the sugar right into the all-purpose flour. I take my good old-fashioned cultured butter, whole butter, and I grate that into the flour with a cheese grater. This is a little trick that we use for our pie dough, for our biscuit dough. It really helps incorporate the butter well into the flour, into little pieces without having to chop it up and break it up with your fingers. It's just a nice, efficient way of incorporating the butter into the flour. And it really helps speed things up, and it makes it a really nice, flaky, buttery dough. So some biscuit doughs will call for shortening. Some will call for lard. We prefer to use butter just for the flavor and the purity of ingredient. So once that's all grated into the flour, make sure I got it all. And then I incorporate it further into the flour just using my fingers with a little bit of a pinching motion, and I'm hoping to really get all the granules of flour coated with a little bit of butter. And you can see that as I work the butter through the flour, I just keep spinning the bowl, and that helps us incorporate the butter well into the flour. This takes a little bit of time, and it's probably the most time-consuming part of the recipe, but it's really, really easy to do and yields a really great product. The bacon, which I will incorporate any second, is sourced locally from a Guelph farmer, Walnut Hill pork farmers, and we get a lot of our pork products through that Guelph farmer. And the bacon in particular is a lovely, mellow smoked, wood smoked bacon. So we chop that up and render it in a frying pan, and then drain off all the excess fat, and then let it just dry out. So it looks like that, little bacon bits. And then we just stir it right into the flour and butter mixture, making sure that it's evenly distributed throughout. At this stage, we add the buttermilk. And this is a full cup of buttermilk. Just gonna put it all in at once. And the trick with a bacon or with a biscuit dough or with a pie dough is not to overwork it, because if you try to work it too much, and by that I mean kneading it and really working it, you find that the glutens in the flour start to really come out and make it an elasticy kind of dough, which is something that we don't want. We want what's called a short dough or a short crust. So same thing with the pie dough. It's called short because it breaks rather than stretches like a yeasted bread dough, which you do want the glutens to be working and turning the dough elastic. So once that buttermilk is incorporated through, you really just want to bring the dough all together into one ball, pressing it together in the bowl. So once we've got the dough together in a nice firm disc, we want to turn that out onto a floured surface for rolling. I just like to press it down with my hands, make sure that we press out as many of the cracks as we can. And I'm forming it into a rectangle because I'm going to cut these into little squares. Once we've got that done, we just want to roll it into a nice 1-inch thick. And I'll rotate that dough. Not too much rolling, you can see. It's going to be almost there. And there we have, ready for cutting. At this point, we're cutting these biscuits into 1.5 by 1.5 inch squares. I'm just going to trim off the edges so we got a nice clean cut. We transfer them with a lot of space on a parchment-lined bake sheet so that they can have room to bake properly. Brush that with a little beaten egg, and that helps give a nice golden brown, shiny appearance. Who has an egg allergy could just leave this off, but it really makes it nice and shiny and brown. And into the oven they go. 375. Like to put it in for 6 minutes. Turn the tray, put it on for another 6 minutes, and then they're ready to serve. Freshly baked buttermilk bacon biscuits. Yummy.